History Things podcast, a conversational approach to discussing social, industrial, maritime, music, and military history. Join us and our special guests as we dive down the rabbit holes of your favorite stories from the past. Follow the History Things podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or online at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to leave a review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Pat and Parker are coming right up. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the History Things podcast. Midsummer, very excited to be getting into some more regionally focused history, some more local history. We're coming to you, Nova, especially if you're out in the Loudon County area. To tell a story with us today is a good friend of mine, one of the hosts of Historians on Tap. I've been lucky enough to participate live with them a few times. And so let's get, for the very first time, into our studios here at the War Department. Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with me as I attempt this last name. AnnMarie Chirieleison.
Killed it.
Nailed it. Yes, woo!
Well done.
We struggled behind the scenes. When I say we, I mean me. I struggled with that. You had to have me tap into some deep stuff there to find what I need.
Yeah, the emotional Catholic guilt. It's there decades back somewhere.
How, it's got to be almost every time. How often do people struggle with your last name?
Every time.
Every time.
And this is why it helps to actually do this program at a bar, because I find, have a glass of something,
and it loosens you in.
Loosens it. You can't think about it too much.
Not afraid of your last name.
It's a lot of letters. You just go. You just go. You can't think about it.
Oh man, we were discussing how our friend Travis Shaw, who you host Historians on Tap with, usually lays it on thick with the way he pronounces it. So hopefully, I just went neutral right down the middle.
You got it.
So we just hung out at the time of recording. We just hung out very recently. At the time you're hearing this, it's been a few weeks now, but we just did Historians on Tap at the Collective Encore out in Columbia, Maryland. Shout out to the venue. That was an awesome place. I felt so like this is fancy and I am not.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. The imposter syndrome is real.
I had a t-shirt and there was super good mood lighting and I felt like a lot of jazz gets played there.
Yeah, it feels. I don't know if that's true. Maybe next time we should bring a saxophone with us.
It just feels like jazz.
It feels like jazz.
But you told a real condensed version of this story because I know we were only working in 10 to 15 minute windows here. So with a lot more runway to get into the shenanigans that this one was, set up our listeners and our viewers for sort of what's happening sort of away from what we consider traditional Northern Virginia, which is more Fairfax focused. We're more Loudon Nova. We're a little further out. Take our listeners there. When, where, what's going on?
All right. So I actually, to kind of pregame for this, I did go back and listen to the first half of the Valley Forge talk you guys did last year. Because that gives them, in my mind too, for which I know you have tens of thousands of dedicated fans across the world, that is good context.
Tens of fans around the world? We have tens of fans.
You don't know. Every time that plays, you don't know how many people are in the room.
That's true.
Listen.
That's true. That's right. There could be 4.
There could be.
4
we don't know if there are children strapped into car seats that don't have a choice.
We might have
but
dozens
to listen.
Of listeners. We have children being held hostage, forced to listen to my.
That's right. It's true in my house, at least.
Oh, I appreciate that. Poor Mike. Poor your kiddo.
No, they're all on board. These kids had it coming.
That's right.
But so this talk. And shenanigans is a good word for it. But this kind of is the everyman's version of what is going on in the colonies and using Virginia as kind of a zoom-in point.
All right.
And I say everyman's, and I accept with humility the fact that let's hear about another white guy in history for once.
Yeah.
Let's give these guys their due.
When are middle-aged white guys going to get a leg up in the world?
When are cis white men
going to
have their story told?
Right.
But someday. I think it is an important perspective to have, and to remember, because I think there is rightfully and needfully more emphasis on the Black experience, right? There's more and needed emphasis on the woman's experience, camp followers' experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so this, rather than trying to say we need to shift and focus on, but it gives another angle on the depth and complexity of society in the 18th century.
Sure.
During this time. And specifically kind of into that middling class, people who maybe have a shot at upward mobility in society, right? And so that's the type of person we're talking about. But the specific person who I think it makes sense to start with and to give context is this man whose name is James Cleveland.
All right.
So there are some Clevelands in the Northern Virginia area at this time. Some people might be familiar with Benjamin Cleveland, Colonel Benjamin Cleveland. I don't know if that's a name that rings a bell.
That is a name that's ringing no bells.
There are a couple of these Cleveland brothers who end up in the Carolinas, and they end up big in the Battle of Kings Mountain and a little bit terrorized local loyalist families.
Okay,
like
that's a little more familiar.
It becomes
Some bells
a thing.
Ring there.
Becomes a thing. I believe that our James Cleveland is somehow related to those same guys. There aren't that many Cleveland families in Virginia, but I don't have the direct connection. Why I lead off with that is I'm anticipating someone in the internet comments, right, dropping in and saying, for sure, this is a Benjamin
They're out there.
Cleveland relative. But I think there is a similar vein of shenaniganry. I don't know what it's Irish, so you should know.
Hey, but I don't, that's
what's
like,
the right word?
How do you
here?
Buffoonery.
Shenanigans?
Shenanigarians? I don't know.
Shenanigooners?
We'll have to consult the Holy Leprechaun at some point, and he'll have to tell us what
you
that
can
means.
say that. I can't say
That's
that.
true. I do come with
can't
the
say
straight
that.
credit.
But it's interesting. One of the family genealogies, which is published in the 20th century, actually harkens back to what I think might be the initial act of shenaniganry.
Shenanigery.
Which is 100 years plus prior.
You can say bullshit on this show. Like if you just want to say the first thing of bullshit,
the bullshittery.
You can say yeah.
Well, I don't know if this is bullshittery. I think it's kind of more like thumbing it to the king kind of a thing.
Okay.
But a Cleveland ancestor had a secret affair baby with Oliver Cromwell during the Protectorate.
Cromwell, boo, boo.
Yeah,
Boo.
I know. We're not roundheads here.
No.
But nor are we Cavaliers, let's be honest.
No, we're Irish in this basement, so we're more just like...
Screw them all.
That's right.
They can all...
Give us the 6 counties. Chirieleison!
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for a different day.
It's for every day. James
You said
Cleveland.
Cromwell and things went south
Everything
real fast.
Everything is. So this important thing about the American Revolution, Cromwell. So James Cleveland first shows up as a tithable at the Mount Vernon estate, right? So that's our first point in history where I know where he is and who he is. So James Cleveland is a farm manager at the River Farm circa like 1767, right? That time frame by 1766, 1767, he's showing up on the tithable list as the farm manager.
Okay.
And what this means by my deduction is he's at least reached the age of majority, right? That not only is he on the tithable list, but he's operating a pretty major farm.
Right. Operation. Yeah.
At this time in the late 60s, he's overseeing about 20 enslaved workers who are at the River Farm and 1 or 2 white laborers. By the list of tithables, it looks like there's probably 1 or 2 white laborers too. So it's a pretty sophisticated system, right? They're meant to operate, they're doing wheat, rye, a couple of grains, not much tobacco out there by this time. Tobacco is a really hungry plant, of course. And so he gets paid a share of what is raised at the farm. That's kind of how the operation works. So not exactly, he's an employee. He's not renting the land. He's an employee, but that's where he first shows up at Mount Vernon. Now, I think he's probably a youngish man at this time, maybe 30s. Maybe I just see a peer, in terms of age bracket. But it's shortly after that he also starts buying up rental tracts in Loudon County.
All right.
And this is unusual. Usually, if you're renting a tract of land, you're a poor schmuck. Maybe you have a poor schmuck wife and some poor schmuck kids, and you're going to rent 100 acres at a time from one of these landed...
Yeah, the gentry.
American nobility, right?
Right.
The Lees, the Washingtons, the Carters, the Harrisons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it just so happens that around this time, 1770, a certain Francis Lightfoot Lee, who is Declaration of Independence famous, is moving from Loudon down to Richmond County on the Northern Neck because his new father-in-law built them a really nice house down there. So he's leaving this, what used to be his primary estate. He needs something to do with it. James Cleveland has experience running an actual household farm, right? And so he rents this additional 1,200 acres from Francis Lightfoot Lee starting in 1770, right? Yep. Along with that property comes the 40 enslaved people that have been working on that estate. Right. And I'm actually, I'm going to send you a list of those individuals if you want to drop it in the comments here, because I want to make sure that we give them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure that we, say their names, have their names.
That keeps in line with a long tradition here on the show. Long time ago, even at the very earliest time of the show, Matt Borders, the original co-host of the show with me, did a program where he researched and discovered more than 500 names of either enslaved or recently enslaved individuals who had gone through the area of Monocacy Junction, either directly for the military or whatever. And we made a point in our program to read all of the names that he found. I mean, it was like a 5-minute interpretation and then like 20 minutes of just reading names. And it was like, somebody asked, like, why did we do that? And it was like, because like they go from being these things written on paper to people. We spoke about them
to
again.
people.
Like that's the whole point. They are people. They were people. Right. So yeah, we absolutely can put that up.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And for a little bit of context, this property that that Cleveland is renting from Lee, it's on a small, stream of water called Horsepen Run, the Stallion Branch. Have you ever flown in or out of Dulles?
No, actually, I think I am exclusively National and then later Reagan National.
It makes sense given your. I am not going to formally. I'm not going to formally invite you down to Dulles. I don't know if that's worth.
We've been down to. I mean, we go down because we've been to Udvar-Hazy, so like we're big fans of that. And my former life as a contractor used to take me around there in Centerville all the time.
So you're familiar with the area?
Yeah.
The economy parking lot at Dulles Airport is about where this is.
Oh, I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about. Okay. I hypothesize that a good number of your listeners will be familiar with that area.
Yeah.
So like that's already
Some
relevant.
of them are parking their cars in that lot right now as they're about to take flights.
Yeah.
They're talking about us.
They're talking about us.
We're talking about you.
We're talking about you, and we're talking about, the 40 odd people that were enslaved on that property and lived full and complex lives, in that space, whether or not we have written record of their experiences, at this time. So he's taking that lease from Francis Lightfoot Lee in 1770 while maintaining his role as a farm manager at the river farm at Mount Vernon. And so this also suggests a whole line of middle management, right? All the way down of overseers.
Because he can't be in two places at once.
He can't be in two places at once. You're going to have to figure out how to get grain out of the ground. You're going to have to figure out how to harvest these things, how to process these things, how to get them to market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we do know, in addition to hiring out other farm managers and mini managers all the way down to the single cell farm manager, there were also plenty of cases in which an enslaved person was assigned. You were now the overseer, you're now the workmaster. So we don't know the exact scenario, but there's some kind of inner class engagement there, which I think is interesting.
He's like creating his own little hierarchy within him.
Bingo. Right. Assistant to the farm manager is what's happening.
I hope they're like Dwight.
You get that impression, right? Like someone is
suddenly
taking
all
it
these
way
farms
too
have
seriously.
beats on it. What's going on?
Yeah, it's all money beats. It's all the money beats. So in the early 1770s, this is how James Cleveland is kind of building out his own personal rental empire, right? The next year, 1771, he rents an additional, I think it's like 1,600 acres in Prince William County, northern Prince William County.
I mean, these farms got to be doing well. He's got money to keep renting an incredible amount of land,
right? And that's one of the interesting things. So rent payment, is usually due at the end of the year, but it could be anywhere from the end of September through Christmas Day. And it's a variable amount. Every landlord can set their own rent, but almost universal, I should say, it is universal across these titles that I've been looking at, is you got to pay the quit rent, right, which is similar to our property tax, and he's paying that quit rent directly to Lord Fairfax, who is landed English gentry who owns the whole northern neck, so separate from the colony of Virginia, but operating under the same kind of structure, the economic structure. You pay your quit rent to the Lord, and then any additional taxes that show up during the course of your lease.
I love that you're doing the quotes.
Air
because
quotes
we are video
for
now,
the
and
video.
people can see.
And I'll vocalize my air quotes
This
too.
is deeply
ding,
sarcastic.
ding, 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 ding. Any additional taxes that might come up in the term of your lease. Now, for James Cleveland, his lease of Francis Lightfoot Lee's estate is for 12 years.
Okay.
But that's actually on the short end of leases in Loudon County at this time.
Right.
It's not unusual to have lifetimes of leases. It's not unusual to have multiple lifetimes.
This was the part
leases.
that I learned when you did this, when we were at Collective
Mm-hmm.
Encore, that kind of blew my mind, that you could basically sell out your descendants for these leases.
Absolutely. And they are bound,
Yeah.
they're bound in.
I was like, holy moly.
Yeah,
Like,
and so-
thanks, Grandpa.
Thanks, bud. That's
Yeah,
nice.
like, jerk move.
Thanks, Gramps.
Stuck
I mean,
here.
it's kind of a yes and no, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because on one hand, you're a little bit stuck, but on the other hand, you have a house guaranteed for your kid.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily the case, especially if you were an immigrant family. And I include immigrating from other colonies, right? In that too. But it makes it tough, right? You get locked in, your rent is controlled in
Yeah.
a sense,
But like, what
because
does
you've agreed to
improving
this.
your life and leaving look like?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so there were plenty of cases of tenants just like taken off. If like conditions got bad, or they couldn't pay their rent or didn't want to, and just like wanted to disappear. This happened sometimes. They would just ghost on their lease.
Like in the middle of the night, just gone. Poof.
Yeah. And you
No
have
more
to
tenant.
imagine if I'm working on a lease out in like Waterford and my landlord lives 40 miles away
Right.
and I'm only going to get checked on by the land agent once or twice a year.
Waterford's so nice.
I know Waterford is nice. That's probably not a good example of running away from a place. But the idea of a remote landlord.
Yeah.
No one's checking on you.
Right.
You could just.
I mean, you could have bad leases in nice places. I mean, that makes
That's true.
sense.
That's true.
I've had one.
That's true. That's true. So that's a little taste of what is going on at this time for James Cleveland. Meanwhile, things are getting weird with England in a general sense.
Did James Cleveland serve in the French and Indian 7 Years War? at
Not
all?
that I can tell.
Okay.
Not that I can tell.
Just
And,
kind of wondering. I mean, he would have been on the younger side.
and that's
but
kind of my guess. Is my
he'd have been
hunch
right there.
My historian hunch is that he was probably a little young to serve in the French and Indian War, but that he's here and present for the American Revolution. And it's interesting that you bring up the French and Indian War, because what kind of catapults him into the situation, that he finds himself in 1776 is he gets hired by George Washington to go settle George's lands on the Kanawha
Okay.
in 1775.
Yeah.
So this again kind of brings back some of the things that were touched on in some earlier episodes about the fallout from the French and Indian War.
Yep.
7 Years' War of Austrian Succession, with the idea of all of this land was at once made kind of available by moving aside the French claims and a lot of the indigenous cultures,
Right.
but kind of locked down by the Treaty of Albany,
Right.
1763. You can't settle back here, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that the French,
We're going to allow those French Catholics into that same
French
land.
Catholics are fine.
They can go there.
And also, we're going to go ahead and set aside 200,000 acres for veterans, for
Right.
Virginia's veterans of the French and Indian War. But you can't go over there.
Yeah, they're like,
right?
bro, what were we fighting for then?
Right.
What do you mean the Alleghenies are locked?
And one of the key players in the whole scenario is George Washington.
Right.
Who he's actually the one really campaigning in Virginia to open up these lands to be claimed, to be
course.
settled,
He's
et cetera,
got a
et
vested
cetera.
interest in this.
A little bit. So some folks will also be familiar with Lord Dunmore's War.
Yes.
Right, 1774. So this is also, part of that same, post French and Indian War rabble rousing. I don't know how else to describe it really, but to again officially remove the indigenous threat
Right.
from the Ohio Valley and trickling down to Point South. And so with the successful signing of the Treaty of Camp Charlotte, October 19th, 1774 is when that treaty gets signed.
Nice. That's definitely not a conspicuous date
I know.
at all.
In
No other treaties were, or no other surrenders or whatever were signed on that date.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing.
Nothing else happened. But it's speaking of the interesting timeline, it is on the 10th of January, 1775. So like 2 months later, George Washington writes a list of instructions for James Cleveland. This is what I want you to do to go settle my lands on the Kanawha. you need to get there and have my people that I own.
Yes.
You need to have my people working on my property that I own down there so I can lay claim to the best tracts by the end of March.
That's a lot. I mean,
Bing, bang, boom.
You gotta
bing,
get
bang, boom,
moving.
boom, bing, 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 bing.
You gotta get moving.
You got to get going. There's 200,000 acres out there. George Washington ends up, this takes like a decade or two to work out. He ends up walking with like 23,000. So like 10% of all the land that's set aside for these Virginian, French, and Indian war vets.
Right.
That's my own Foley effects. That's him like,
so interesting sidebar. You made that noise. Recently, we discovered in doing research for the Titanic series we're doing on this show, I was trying to find just like royalty free footage of the not sound effects. Wait, we'll get there. Of the USS Nor, which was the research vessel that Bob Ballard was on when they found the ship. So KNORR. So as I'm searching YouTube 1,000 times for this, suddenly it thinks I want to see vintage ads from the soup company Knorr's soup, but it wants me to see this very specific weird ass one where there's this onion scarecrow who does this it's like from 1985, does like this dancing in the rain bit and basically breaks into this farmer's house while the farmer's out with a shotgun looking for him because he's like, what the f- is outside? And there's some weird scarecrow thing.
Wow.
And then they have this final cutscene at the end where the onion smiles, terrifying.
Don't like it.
Eats the soup and then makes that same sound you just made, by the way. And then they go, it's like, soup so good you'll sloop. And they say, the whole thing,
I'm very uncomfortable
it's
now.
Wrong on every level. And I'm going to cut it in right here.
Whether you're cold or whether you're wet, you'll weather it better with a warm, welcoming Knorr soup. Like Knorr blended golden vegetable. Wholesome, nourishing vegetables, selected and blended for a soup that's thick but smooth. Soup in a cup or soup in a bowl, there's no soup more satisfying. Knorr soup. So good you go.
Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Have fun never sleeping ever again.
Yeah, brought to you by Killer Soup, homicidal soup.
Nightmare stuff.
Nightmare soup.
But that's quite a downsizing of, one, are there veterans who are expectant of all this land? And two, is there a reaction when it sloops down to this, 20-something thousand acres?
That's it. That's a great question. And, a little bit maybe unfortunate for the legacy of James Cleveland and the work that he does on the Kanawha is this becomes a bit of an albatross on George Washington's estate. These tracts out here. And my take, I'm not, I'm coming at it from like a pinhole view, right?
Okay.
But I do know that in his will and his estate, he tries a number of times to sell these tracts. A couple of times he sells some of them, but never receives payment, and so ownership goes back to him. Right. And so even after he dies, 15 years after his death, there are still advertisements trying to sell these lands, and now they're trying to sell them as once part of the General Washington's estate, but it never, it has a really hard time taking. And my assumption, I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. By the time George passes, by the early 1800s, so much American land is open.
Right.
The demand isn't as high, or you don't have, they don't.
It's not as
you got options.
Unique and rare as you think it is.
Right.
The West the doors are open now.
A little bit, which is what makes this initial period, 1770s,
right.
Such an interesting bottleneck of land and land valuation. Right.
It's the moment where things are about to open, but we're still living in the world.
We're still living in a more closed
down.
time when having early access is going to get you, the primo space. I know nothing about Bitcoin, but I feel like this is your getting early on an investment opportunity.
I know nothing about Bitcoin or crypto. I'm definitely not a crypto bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are like, he's a bro of some sort, but it's not.
It's not crypto.
Bro.
It's not. No, not my thing. But it's that idea of wealth speculation. I think is this idea that George really wants to get out there. He wants early access to these things. He wants improvements on the land so that he can say he's got these parcels.
Alleghenies are going to hit, bro. We got to do 20,000 acres right now.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know why I just felt like doing that.
It's all good. So all right. So he's got a timeline too. Cleveland has a strict timeline.
Okay.
George says
by March.
It's January 10th. End of March. Right. I want my guys out there. I want them working. He sends them like a numbered list of you should have this many barrels of corn. You need to have this many, 3 canoes. You can have more, but you gotta have at least 3. You gotta have enough canoes.
Okay.
I've got a couple of old canoes from the last time I was out there. All right. You gotta hook up with my guys out there. There's Valentine Crawford is one of his agents that he's working with to survey these properties. And so there's some names that are pretty well known being on this western border. That'll hook you up to resources. They'll get you down there.
Right.
Bang. Makes it sound easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got your steps.
Just
go follow the directions.
George's directions.
Follow the directions. Things don't work out.
Okay.
Quite the same way, right? George says, here's what you got to do. End of March, get my guys. I have to go be in Philadelphia, right? He's due at like this constitutional convention. I don't know.
Yeah, never
heard
of it.
I don't know.
What's that? Yeah.
So he's going to go up there. And he says, I need to leave Mount Vernon by February 1st.
He's like, I got to take this military uniform with me. It's going to become iconic.
It's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
George says, you need to go settle the lands. I have to leave Mount Vernon by February 1st. So if you can go get things kicked off and get back here, Mount Vernon, before I have to leave, that'd be great. Number one, what?
Dude, does teleportation exist in the 18th century? How do you expect this man to cover all this real estate and hit your goals?
I know. So number one for like a boss that does not understand working timelines, potentially. And so there are a couple of hiccups that happen. Number one,
right.
On February 11th, we get a letter from James Cleveland to George Washington from Loudon County.
Okay.
And James Cleveland says, hey, so I got up there, but then I got super sick and I had to come home.
Right. Variable that we didn't even consider. Right.
I don't think there's like a sick time leave as part of this.
He's like, you got to put your PTO in, dude.
Super sick, super feverish. Also, when I went up there, none of the prearrangements had happened the way that you said would be there. Like they've never heard of these canoes that you had. They're like, there's nothing there.
It was specifically the canoes. Bro, what canoes?
What canoes? Dude, where's my canoe? It's just not happening.
Right.
So by early March, Washington picks another lackey named William Stevens and sends him up to just try to get something done. Try to get something done until Cleveland is well enough to get up there. You got to have these 5 servants with you. 3 of them are going to be indentured white servants.
Right.
And it looks like a lot of them are actually recent additions to the Western Hemisphere, right?
Oh.
Which is also interesting, right?
Yeah.
You've got one of them is a Scotsman, I believe that's John Bailey. But they give physical descriptions because George is assuming they're going to run away. So he actually sends their manager with a list of their physical descriptions and their like clothing, because that's how you identify these guys. So like they know exactly what's
How many of them run away?
We'll get to that. I'll tell you. I'll tell you more. Eventually, in March, Cleveland finally makes it out to the Ohio Gainey. Is that how you say that?
Yakagani?
Yeah, thank you. Yakagani. Thank you.
I think that's how you
I'll
say
say Chirieleison, you say Yakagani for me.
I think
that's
Yakagani.
fair. But he gets out because that's where you have to get to then come down the river to get to the Kanawha tracts that George owns.
Right.
So that's where he's supplying up. And James is like, all right, I got here. I'm here. So he finally shows up. In March in the Yakagani to where William Stevens is trying to arrange this. William Stevens has been there for 10 days. Nothing is done. They have half of the corn that George told them to get.
What are they doing?
I know. They have the 3 indentured servants plus another couple of hired hands who I think are hired out I don't think they're actually hired freemen. I think they're hired out indentures.
Okay.
And one of them who's owned by a friend of George Washington's, the friend is like, you can have this one. And he's got like a wounded foot. Like he can't even walk.
Like what is that guy going to do?
He can't go down on a farm.
What is he going to do?
But it's like it's kind of a classic tale a little bit. But here we are. we're at the point when George wanted like this done. Like they haven't even really gotten started yet.
They definitely haven't gotten started. They don't even have all the supplies.
I know. So eventually, by April, they make it in their canoes. They lose a couple canoes, right? So there goes like a bunch of their salt beef and a bunch of their corn because it's already spring. There's not food in the ground already. You got dry corn
and canoes don't grow on trees.
Canoes don't grow. They don't really grow on. You have to ungrow them from the tree.
Tree them. And then burn them.
And so things start out bad and they don't get a lot better for James Cleveland. Let's feel sorry for the guy driving the slaves.
Yeah, no, let's feel bad for that guy.
So he gets down there. Land is beautiful. Important note is that he comes to call it Washington's Bottom.
Sick.
Which I love.
Sick.
So we get to talk about Washington's Bottom a lot here.
Yeah.
And not too far away is Licking Hole.
Is there a Washington's Top?
Well,
that's terrible.
Hey, I mean, let's find out. I don't know if I have that in these letters.
Bottom.
But every time James writes to George, because George likes to be kept on top of projects,
yeah.
We know this. James is always writing about some number and portion of the servants running away. Every time, like once a week, this contingent, these 3 ran off, and I had to go sort them out of the next Indian town over. These 2 ran away, and I had to go chase them down, and they were just cavorting in the wilderness.
So he's at least bringing, not that I'm like, yay, but he's bringing them back, because I'm just thinking from a personnel perspective, if you're bleeding people, how are you getting any work done?
You're not.
Right.
You're exactly not. And so he refers to that a lot, so like, here's one point he's talking May 12th, that night 2 of the servants ran away by water. I set out with 5 hands. So he's taking 5 other of his work crew with him.
Right.
And the night after got back with them. On the 3rd day, 5 of them ran away, and I proceeded with 4 hands down the Ohio to retrieve them. So he actually calculates, he says, was not my credit at stake. I should have given up, for the time I lose is more than they are worth. Like, he'd be better off out there alone. Yeah. Trying to like cut down trees and plant corn and build these houses, because all he's doing is
I'm chasing these people down.
Right. It's definitely it's absolutely a Scooby-Doo in the hallway with the doors, running around.
Part of the story I feel bad for is that these people get caught. They should just get away.
Wow.
Okay.
Interestingly, eventually a couple of them do just like permanently get away. Nice. I mentioned John Bailey.
Yeah.
He actually shows up in 1777 as a deserter from the 8th Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And he gets killed for
deserting. Well, I mean, so you deserve that
a little bit, but he actually shows up in a letter from General Putnam to Washington.
The context of your desertion matters. Deserting from bondage, fine with that.
Yeah.
Abandoning your brothers in arms,
your paid bondage,
right?
Not cool.
Not okay. Like there's people that are counting on you. That's not okay, cool. Bro.
But it's a weird life story that I wish we, had more about him, but we do have at least that much. This poor guy, John Bailey, young guy, ends up attached to this work crew, runs away a bunch of times.
Right.
And then the last time successfully, he like swims across the Ohio River after being captured by Chief Cornstalk and his guys.
What?
Who were kind of enlisted by Cleveland's like, hey, keep an eye out for this runaway.
Right.
But then he swims the river before they can bring him in, right? Because he was at Fort Blair. Whoops, sorry, just banged the mic. So he swims the river, ends up in a Pennsylvania regiment, signing up as a volunteer, or perhaps as a replacement, not sure, a substitute, and then ends up in New Jersey, trying to run away from the army. And the only reason we hear about it is because he identifies himself as, hey, I'm from one of George Washington's farms. Right? Like, I think he uses that name
that's a mistake,
card as his like last play.
Because Washington got a letter that said you left.
Yeah.
So he killed you twice.
He left twice.
There were 2 bullets.
He left twice. He ran away from the farm, and then he ran away from the army.
He doesn't know it, but they shot his corpse. And that one's for George.
Could have been.
No.
Took it real personal.
None of that is real. Don't take that seriously.
But the long and short of it, no, I've made a lot of long out of it, is that 1775 is quickly getting away from James Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, it got away from him on January 11th.
Yes, absolutely.
Like that was sewn into the
yes.
plan.
And one of my favorite little bits, I feel bad for saying it, and I'm grimacing for people who are not watching the video. I'm grimacing when I say this. is that, in this May 12th letter, when James Cleveland is giving the litany of who ran away when and how many hours he has spent chasing down his work crew instead of doing the work that he's supposed to do, but he's trying to make the best of it. And he says again and again, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do this for you. My credit is on the line. Also, the like £100 sterling that he was promised for doing this at the end of the year.
Definitely not about money. It's purely about honor.
And then at the end of this May 12th letter, he says, pray, let me know how matters stand between Britain and America. By the way, P.S., just how's it going out there?
Oh.
How is it? How are things looking?
How is all the...
How's it going over there? And how is it going over there, Pat? How are things right now in 1775?
They're not going great.
Not great.
I think it is all hit the fan at this point.
Yes.
I think they've shot at each other. I think I heard the shot. I think it went around the world.
Around the world
Yeah,
a couple times. We heard about it.
It is broken down.
And in Virginia, things are massively devolving.
George just writes back. Or it's on.
And also, I'm in charge now.
Yeah, be back in 8 years.
Right. But and also, so May 12th, and what is it? Early June that he's made commander of the Continental Forces. So James keeps writing, thinking that George is going to show up in a couple weeks. He's like, hey, when you come, can you bring some flour?
Yeah.
We're almost out of corn. Can you bring some flour down with you? Apparently, George told James he was going to come by sometime in May. From Philadelphia, he's going to show up at the convention. It's like checking into a Zoom meeting and then you turn off your camera and you go do whatever.
Go fight the Continental Army's
Right. So George is going to show up at the convention, but then peace out to dip down.
He just
to the Kanawha.
He unmics and it's Trenton.
Right.
They're like, George, can you mute yourself, please?
We can hear. You can hear this.
A bunch of Germans are dying.
Someone making soup.
Terrible. That's so gross.
But James Cleveland is interested and invested. And I think it's really telling. I think it's really interesting. He literally asks, how do matters stand between Britain and America? He's not asking about Virginia. He's not asking about...
speaking nationally.
And I think that gives important context to the general feeling of, even the middle management, right? Or the lesser middle management. It's they understand the things at stake here. They understand their role in it as a collective role of colonies, right?
Right. This is bigger.
But he also personally has a stake in the role of what America is.
Right.
Right. And even from a greater perspective than that, he has thousands of acres in Loudon County, and maybe he's married, we don't know, but he has things at home that are going to be impacted by everything that's happening, not just in the greater sense of the colonies, but also in Virginia, where we've put the governor on the run. Right. Right.
Dunmore's living in the Bay now.
Right. And so there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake for him personally, and there's a lot at stake for Virginia, and there's a lot at stake for the colonies, and he understands that. And so James, it appears, is able to come home once or twice over the summer of 1775 because Lund, Washington, who is now managing Mount Vernon, our favorite weenie dingus.
Yeah, what a ding-dong.
Lund, Washington, is keeping a tabs on things and writes about seeing James Cleveland a couple of times. So in early October, Lund says that he has just seen James Cleveland and that James says he did all the work.
What?
James says he got everything done.
How?
By early October.
I just feel like there's not enough time to do all that.
And that includes not just the planting in of some 20-odd acres of corn, 100 peach trees.
But October's harvest time. So does that include a harvest?
No.
Okay.
Probably just getting things in the ground. They might be able to take out one crop of corn this season, but that's not the important thing.
Right.
They don't need that for the tax. I don't care how much you're producing. You just have to show me plants in the field so you can lay claim to the title on the property.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
That's the important thing.
All right.
And so Cleveland, through the course of the summer, he has switched from clearing land and planting, which is really tough, to he's really switched into building, which I guess is a little bit simpler to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to clear the amount of acreage. And so while they're out there, they build something like 14 structures. It's a
town.
Right.
A village,
Three large houses, right? It's just 48 by 16. One large barn, so 44 by 20-ish or so. And then 7 additional cabins, cabin size 12 by 12 style buildings. And it's interesting that in one of his early letters, James writes, hey, I had to stop everything and build cabins so I could lock the servants up at night. So like that's one of his first priorities because they keep running away is he has to build a box to keep them in. Like, what are we doing here? It's fine. It's fine.
We're being early Americans.
It's fine a little bit. So it's interesting, he's done by October. He's back in town. The interesting thing is not whether he's been able to pull a harvest out of the Kanawha lands. It's has he been able to pull a harvest out of his Loudon tracts, right? Out of his New Prince William tracts. Does he have anything that he's going to sell from there?
Does he?
It kind of doesn't matter because also by now in 1775, a certain non-exportation act has come into play in Virginia, right? And this is the other thing that has been going on in the colony while James has been in the Western, out in Washington's Bottom, hanging out in Washington's Bottom.
Just hanging out there.
His big old
Just
round bottom.
Hanging out in his bottom.
And that is that in the year previous, the leaders of Virginia, including a certain Francis Lightfoot Lee, a certain landlord, has written and enacted a non-importation act, right, in support of the closing of the Boston Harbor, right? We're not doing business with you anymore, Britain.
Screw you.
Suck it.
Yeah.
You're going to really have a hard time without my...
Yeah. Yeah, without Virginia.
Yeah.
Or something.
Something like that. But then also, so the non-importation takes place on a shorter timeline, but let me think. Non-importation kicks off, and then non-exportation is slated to begin in September of 1775.
Right.
So they agree to it, but then they put a time limit on it so that they can hypothetically adjust,
right,
or figure out what to do, or frankly, for a lot of the landholding class to try and settle some of their debts.
I was going to say,
creditors.
to do meaningful things with that last little bit of money coming in and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems, from what I understand, it's pretty common to do 2 major shipments back and forth from England per year, one in the spring and then one later in the fall, like an April and a September-ish kind of a thing. And so they set non-exportation for like September 29th. Right? The idea that like get it all in the harbor in September, get it all, whatever you're going to try and get done, you have
shut the door.
And then and then it's kind of done.
Yep.
But what that means is for anybody who doesn't have their harvest in or processed yet, especially any of these tenant farmers who maybe are not as in with the news, right? Or I don't know your life, man. Or maybe you live 30 miles away from the Port of Alexandria and it takes time,
right,
to get things in. Is you're just out of luck,
right? Because you're fighting time. Yeah,
nobody's buying.
Nobody's buying.
It doesn't matter how well you did this year. And then the other thing that is really coming to a head at this time is the shortage on salt, right?
You need it for everything.
And there's kind of there's a good understanding like you need salt for the wintertime. You got to have salt for the winter.
Can't you just get it off the salt tree?
You cannot.
Doesn't it just grow on trees?
No, it's poisonous if you get it off a tree.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like...
But not if you slurp it off a tree.
Don't do those. I feel like this is crisis. I mean,
it absolutely is, and the salt is really the first thing that hits home, not just to the poors, but to on up through the classes as well.
Right, because this is how all food is preserved.
All food,
or all meat rather,
right? All food, but also for all seasons. So Nicholas Creswell, who I'm sure you've heard about from Travis and Ian, Nicholas Creswell, who's an English diarist stuck here in Virginia and in Loudoun County.
I like
at the
how
time.
you said that. I'm
Nicholas
sure you've
Creswell,
heard
who
from.
I know you've heard from.
Travis
If you've seen Travis, you know Jacob Engelbrecht and you know Nicholas Creswell.
When Ian did his British POW episode here, I think Nicholas Creswell was quoted like 5-6 different
he's
times.
great.
I mean, yeah, but it's just when you said it like that, I was like, we could probably do a cut of Ian quoting Creswell.
We probably could. We should just do like a live reading of the diary and just be. It's a wild diary for sure. But he writes this about salt, and I think it clarifies just how necessary it is. And so he writes, "This article is exceedingly scarce. If none comes in, the people will revolt. They cannot possibly subsist without a considerable quantity of this article. The people in general live on salt meat in the summer. The excessive heat renders the keeping of fresh meat very difficult even for one day. They likewise give salt to their horses, cattle, hogs, and sheep almost every day in the summer," right? People aren't the only animals that need salt.
That's right. I mean, anything working hard in the sun and the heat needs that
salt
sodium to go back in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about is the average household still needing tons and tons, pounds and pounds and pounds of salt per year. And so now we're not importing it, right? And during the time available, certain wealthy white families have hoarded the salt that was available.
Do you want to name drop a family?
Oh, like Washington is numero uno on the list.
Right.
And in fact, Lund, Washington writes during that winter of 75, there was like a horde of people here trying to get your salt. That horde of people rode in from Loudon County. Nicholas Creswell saw them ride through town. And then a couple days later, we see Lund writing about it in a letter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, ding, 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 the lines connect.
That's awesome, though.
But Lund says, we have dozens and dozens of bushels of salt. But I told them we didn't have any.
Ooh.
Because we need it, right? It's the classic hoarder scenario.
It's like the toilet paper, remember?
It's exactly like that. I have more than I need. I'm not going to give you any. But in other places in Virginia, because this wasn't just unique to Loudon and Alexandria, of going down to these wealthy estates and trying to get the salt. There were some instances of the people actually breaking in and seizing it. Right?
Yeah.
And there were some other cases of the hoarders selling at a premium or whatever it is. But this is not unique to Loudon. This is something that happens when you decide not to take your toys away and not play with others.
Right.
And salt was the first real danger point. And it was the first time when the landowning class was like, oh,
this is a problem for us too.
Are we the baddies? Did we do something wrong? And so a little bit late to the game, but throughout the war, there will be this underlying effort, in some ways spearheaded by Richard Henry Lee, another Lee brother, of trying to do a home salt production.
Is it me? Am I the problem?
Am I the problem? If I take away their salt, do they not have the salt?
Am I a bastard?
I don't know, but it's tricky too because this is not one of the issues of you can deal with some privations. This is literal starvation, scenario.
Right, time is way of the essence here.
Yeah. So we'll see this. Come up again and again throughout the war. This idea of lack of salt. How do we get it? They're trying to pull salt out of the brackish creeks in all of their river estates and things, and it's small amounts of salt, and it's bad salt.
Yeah.
The only time, the next closest time we have industrial salt production is 1797 in Virginia. It's not here. And even George and Lundell write back and forth about this. And George says, well, you kind of just got to run the blockade. You just got to get Caribbean salt. But he can't say that.
No.
But he's like, you do what you judge best.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. It's like one of those.
I'm picking up exactly what you're putting down right now.
One of those things.
This is where I wish the intersection of stories I've heard from all of my friends occurs, even though we know it could never because that guy was a loyalist. But this is where I wish when he was like, you got to get stuff from the Caribbean. And then it was like out of nowhere, this Marylander named William Bowles shows up and is like, I can help you.
Hey, I heard you needed.
Right, in his little barrel boat. That would be perfect. Too bad it never would happen.
So salt.
You got to run it. Wink,
no salt.
Nudge.
Salt, no salt. And also Lund is writing about, a lot of these tenants are not paying their rents. By December of 75, he's like, we're having some trouble getting some rent. And this is one of the scenarios in which Lund and George are writing about it pretty transparently to each other. But we know that it's a consistent issue.
Right.
For all of the renters across Virginia.
Nobody's buying. The income's not flowing.
Right. The income's not flowing. They can't sell their goods, even if they could get it to a market, even if they could harvest it, they can't get it there.
Right.
And one of the reasons this is a problem in Loudon more than anywhere else is because Loudon has an unusual concentration of tenants. Right. So Loudon at this time, I should say Virginia in general at this time, maybe 10% of your land is held by tenants. It's a manageable sect of society. Okay. In Loudon, it's more like 30%.
Oh.
So it's a big chunk of the individuals and of the landscape in Loudon that are held in tenant farms. Most of them, again, are in these 100-acre tracts. So small guys, small household. James Cleveland is really an outlier with his big, massive conglomeration.
Winnie the Pooh was there.
Yeah, 100-acre woods, little Pooh.
Oh, bother.
Little round bottom.
That was a terrible Winnie the Pooh accent.
Yeah, I'm not going to try.
I'm not going to try.
I'm just going to do... But Lund actually writes and I believe this is in December, he writes to George, from the accounts I have from Loudon, Prince William, and some other counties, there's very little hopes of collecting money from tenants. Surprise, surprise. And the tenants have some complaints.
Yeah.
Like on the Yelp review of...
Yeah, you want me to pay rent? Nobody's buying... Like, what?
They say it is cruel in the landholders to expect their rents when there's no market for the produce of the land.
Right.
Duh. And if there should be no market before the present crop spoils upon their hands, it would be the height of injustice ever to expect to be paid for that year's rent.
Yeah.
Which like is obvious, but it's also kind of insightful to be spelled out this clearly.
That's the world we're living in right now. They're like, I know everything costs $8 million.
Yes.
But you still have to pay all your goddamn bills right now.
Yes.
Oh, are you going to cry because gas is over $5 a gallon right now? Oh, I guess it sucks to suck, working class person. Wham.
Why don't you make your own Strait of Hormuz at home?
Right, exactly. Exactly. God damn it. so, but I mean, it feels in a way like a world I live in. Like
Yes.
There's this lack of income.
Yes.
And this expectation of debt. Like, I will
Yes.
pay these things. And,
Yes.
and it's like, okay, man, we agreed to all this when we lived in this one context of life.
Bingo.
But, like, it's dramatically changed. It's not like it's reasonably changed.
Right.
It is dramatically changed.
Right. Right. And it's also interesting, again, I like the language that's reflected here. And to me, having read a lot of Lund's words, I think he's saying this kind of vindictively and sarcastically.
Okay.
Like, oh, they think it's so cruel and blah, blah, blah. Like that's the
Oh, he's living above
kind of a vibe. He lives above
Dude,
it.
you don't have a pulse, man. Like, you're out
This
of
is
touch.
this is the guy that denied the people the salt they needed.
Right,
This
what
is
a
the
jerk.
same guy that withheld the hoarded salt, right? So like that's kind of the, and maybe unfair, so I'm just saying out loud so people can disagree
Well,
with me.
he's living on the right side of the haves and have-nots.
Bingo. He's living as George's
Lackey.
representative
Yeah.
a little bit,
Sorry,
right?
I meant representative.
Representative.
I didn't
Push
mean-
0 for representatives. But the idea that the tenants, he's personifying them as saying, they say it is cruel in the landholders to expect it. They say it's the height of injustice. So it's more than just me, I'm not able to pay rent. It's we all
we the people.
This is a class act.
Right.
This is an act on the working class. You know, this is an act on the tenant farmers as a collective
Right.
being treated unjustly. And that is interesting. That means something in
spirit
the
of
context.
unionizing happening
Right.
there.
It is. It's class struggle, proto-class struggle.
Because I like that the conversation isn't, we're not going to do this stuff. It's just like your expectation on the other end is unrealistic. Like, we'll farm. We have no problem farming this happily. Like,
We're holding up our end
Right,
of this
exactly.
bargain.
We're doing our part.
We're doing the thing. You have to do the thing of creating trade opportunities for us. That's what the elites are meant to do. You are the economic elites. You control the merchant.
I farm it out of the ground. You take it and sell it
You
on the market.
literally
Yeah.
made the rule that made it impossible for me to get this anywhere.
Right.
I cannot pay you.
Right.
What do you want from me? And again, the guys writing this laws are the same ones holding
Yeah.
the tenants of these specific individuals we're talking about.
Yeah. No, which also sounds very familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, Lund is a little bit beside himself.
Because I know how this story ends, I certainly hope our story ends different.
I know. That's going to be kind of the takeaway from here is what is the same and what's going to be different.
Right.
And so in Loudon is specifically called out here. Lund says, I'm told some of the leading men in Loudon who were the first promoters of the above way of thinking, like, oh, this is unjust. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, those
That
rabble rousers.
they're cited to appear before the committee, assuming to be the Committee of Safety. And it said they are not at all intimidated and that they will turn the committee out of the house and punish the first officer that dared to strain for rent. So if you didn't pay your rent, your landlord could sell your personal property to try and equal the amount that you owe in your rent. And this is at a time when like your shirt is 3 shillings, right? So how are you going to pay your like 50-pound silver due, right? It's
completely unrealistic.
Yep.
They're going to come after your personal assets.
Right. Exactly. Your non-existent personal assets.
Hey, I own a fork, dude.
Right. Well,
Like,
and in
what?
some cases, not during this specific time, but there are other examples of Loudon in this era where like the most valuable thing you have is, for example, your blacksmith tools. How are you going to make any more income?
Right.
That's your livelihood, right?
Right.
They sell your oxen. Who's going to pull the plow?
You're like, how am I farming now? Ding dong.
Right. So it's a tough situation. But Lund concludes the statement by saying, I don't believe them that they'll turn the committee out of the House. I expect these protesters, will behave as all transgressors of the peace do, dastardly. Like he's
trying to like
he's a
frame, he's trying to like frame them out to be this like horribly nefarious group of people.
Right. These ne'er-do-wells who want things like salt and living conditions.
These bastards want to have it tolerable in their lives. What? Inexcusable.
So we have the salt problem. We have the rent problem. We also have something that has not been addressed yet, which is the military problem.
Right.
Right. So until this point, or until the summer of 75, the Virginians in the cause have been acting largely voluntarily in terms of the military support of the Continental cause. And so they had what are called the Virginia Free Companies, independent companies. And these were set up rather democratically, assuming that it was going to be wealthier members of society that were going to be making up these ranks, right? And they could elect their own officers because they were all going to be gentlemen, so everyone would know how to do it. But what they found was these guys with money didn't want to fight as bad as some of the other guys, I guess.
Right. I've never heard that story before either.
Mm-hmm. So what we had was more of the middling sorts and even lower sorts signing up and electing their own officers democratically, having a voice in how things are carried out. This was kind of a game changer for those individuals, but it made leading them in a military unit almost impossible.
So can I ask you a question?
Yep.
How does a middle-class farmer farm his farm if he's fighting in George Washington's army?
See, it's funny, you don't.
Right. Right.
And that was, in some cases, that was like a benefit of the independent company because tours were so short.
But is there no like,
right?
Hey, I'm signing up for this service, so there's like a break on these things while I'm in active service?
I don't think so at this time,
right?
Right? The idea is you're getting paid, right? So the idea is like, we'll pay you, and then you can pay your rent with your wages.
Your military money.
Right. You're very luxe.
Yeah.
You're very
the bourgeois
cushy.
is who fights in the military.
Yeah. Well, and that's all very interesting to point out too, because I think it's in the 3rd Virginia Convention when they kind of they melt down all these units and they reconstitute them into regular forces in which the officers are appointed, not elected. Everyone's getting paid, but the officers are paid like as much as 8 times more than the enlisted men. Right? You've got the peon class. You're gonna get paid. You get like 2 shekels.
Yeah, man, you'll get something.
You get half a gill, half a gill of rice, right? That's your thing.
I shaved a part of a penny for you.
Right.
You can have the shavings.
You can have the shavings. You're welcome.
Right. It'd be great. Look me in the eyes and say thank you.
So they melt down the units. They now have these professional Minuteman battalions that are paid, but it's a longer conscription of service, right? So you will miss a harvest. You will miss opportunity to create income on your estate. And there's now an enforced structure of command, just like in society.
Okay.
Right? Like we're miniaturizing, like there are people that are better than you. They're getting paid more than you. You have to listen to them.
That's what the common working class needs, is another person being like, hey, listen up.
More management.
Somebody's better than you.
More management. And
they're better than you.
This is one, oh gosh, his name is, I think, Andrew Gilmer. I know the last name is Gilmer. He's in Albemarle County at this time, but he tries to justify this to the people of Albemarle County. But the language he uses is, I'll paraphrase, but I'm going to use some of the keywords that he does use is, listen, on every master of a plantation assigns a gang leader of his slaves. Like he actually uses a slave reference, like this is a good idea because slaves, and that does not work for free men because all they have in life is that they're better than slaves.
Right.
That's it.
You can't equate me to that.
That's the only thing they have. So if you use, that's not going to jive. So they're really,
that probably went over like a lead balloon.
Right. They're really champing at the bit about this. But the other thing. So great, we've liquidated these military units. We have new military units. We're going to pay them. Where does that money come from, Patrick?
You're going to tax them, right?
You're going to tax them.
So we're going to pay ourselves.
Because
I love paying myself.
In all of the rental contracts, you're on the hook for every tax.
See,
new
AnnMarie,
or
I take
otherwise.
my money out of my right
Every
pocket
tax.
with my right hand, and then I hand it to myself in my left hand, and I put it in my left pocket.
But what you're really going to do is you're going to kiss
Well, I
it.
dropped a lot of that money in other people's hands along.
Bingo. You're going to kiss it goodbye because the officer that someone else chose for you is taking a chunk of that tax money too.
Right.
Right? God. So there's...
We hated taxes so much. We were just like, let's make a whole bunch of random ones.
Let's do new...
Let's just create them. You get a tax. I'm
do
going to
new
tax
taxes.
you. I'm going to tax you for thinking about taxing me.
That's a great idea. I'm in. It's like a service fee.
Right. Oh, God.
For every tax, I'm just going to take it.
Norris is getting a lot of run here. They might as well sponsor the show now. You're welcome, Norris.
I'm sorry. It's like stuck in my head now.
Because here's the thing. As of this moment in our recording, even though I said I was going to cut it in and our viewers have seen it, you actually haven't seen the horrors of this commercial. And I can't show it to you until we're done recording, but we're almost going to have to turn the camera back on and catch your reaction to it. But Norris, if you're listening at this point, you've probably got tens. What did we say? Tens of listeners of my show. You probably got tens of views on that video now. You're welcome. Sponsor my show. Oh, God.
There's like a figure gun.
Yeah. It's the worst.
The slurping guns.
So gross.
And I'm really sorry that this is how this is associated with this now.
I'm fine. You're going to do this story on your own away from, and you're going to be like, God damn it, I did that.
Or now it's going to be part of the act because I'm going to have to slurp every time I do this story because it's like ingrained in my psyche now. Pause for slurps.
I am both like, you're welcome and I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry. But we've shared it together.
I think I'm sorry.
We've shared it together, Pat. I know everyone who's being forced to listen to this.
Our listeners are like, man, I thought about quitting listening to the show and now I'm done.
Skip ahead 15 seconds. We're just going to do sloops for 15 seconds. Just do a scoop ahead.
Like,
a scoop ahead.
Please don't.
But for real, guys. So winter of 75 to 76, all of these factors are hitting at the same time in a significant way. And at a time when traditionally this is when your economic chickens come home to roost, right? When your rent is due and things are being assessed. So the fact that, Lund is writing to George Washington about this kind of collective action on behalf of the tenants, farmers in Loudon County, that continues to be a trend throughout, December, January, and it comes to a head in February. I'm also really interested, none of this can be proven, but it's another thing to add to the social zeitgeist, which is that common sense is making the rounds.
Thomas Paine.
Yes. Thomas Paine's common sense is making the rounds. And more people are hearing about this language of, the willing consent of the governed. And, who does that mean?
Me.
Right. I'm the governed.
Right.
I'm being governed a lot lately.
Yeah, like a super lot.
Where's my willing consent? Right.
Doesn't exist.
Help. I'm being oppressed.
Right. Again, middle class white guys.
A little bit, but they're really feeling the squeeze. These
but in the
context white guys,
of this, it's very important.
Right, exactly. In this scenario, I am taking on, from their perspective, right? Not that there's
sure.
Whatever. It's fine. I do feel for them, right? Like as someone who I see myself as a middle class participant in society, and I understand what it means to pay rent, and their rent is too damn high, et cetera, et cetera. Insert 2000s meme here.
Right. Oh my God, we're millennials.
I know. Anyways, so in February, this comes to really a breaking point.
Have there been multiple months of just not paying the rent at this point?
So in fact, we hear updates about this periodically from Lund, and there are other allusions to this from other founding fathers, First Family of Virginia's too, like members of the Carter family allude to this. Levin Powell, who is a military figure too, you might recognize. He's from Loudon County. He alludes to this back and forth with his friends too. It's not always as direct as my tenants won't pay their rent, but there are allusions to like the rising licentiousness, right, and domestic insurrection. And they're no longer talking about Dunmore, and they're not talking about necessarily enslaved insurrections, although that is a consistent fear. At this point, they're talking about the poor white schmucks who are angry now and hungry.
Right. These people are supposed to not be a problem. They're supposed to just be a functional part of the cog and the wheel system here.
Yes, we did not account for this screw coming loose.
Right.
Right? Like these are the guys we send on slave patrols.
Right.
So what happens if these guys are no longer in our back pocket? And I want to underline too, these are not loyalists. These are poor white schmucks who do believe in the cause of liberty.
Right.
Right. A number of people who we'll talk about in a bit, they sign up to fight. They're interested in America being America.
I mean, that's why, what's it, Cleveland or so at the beginning, he asks.
How do matters stand?
Right.
How do matters stand?
Still not well.
How do the matters stand?
They're still not going great.
In February of 1776, the 3rd Virginia Regiment, who you remember? Yeah. The 3rd Virginia Regiment,
for sure,
I know, is at the Loudon Courthouse in Leesburg.
Okay.
And they're trying to sign up guys to fight in the 3rd Virginia. At the same time, James Cleveland and a number of other tenant farmers are there to attend to business, to hang out for the court day. Like it's a to-do when there's a court day in town. But there's a lot of shouting and rabble-rousing from these tenant farmers about how unfair the conditions are. And it's not made better by the fact that the 3rd Virginia, they're trying to sign guys up and usually you get a signing bonus. Ooh. There's no signing bonus because they've switched from paying you in hard cash to notes, paper notes. Paper money.
That very valuable
paper money. And here's the thing. You can get paid in paper money, but a lot of the landlords require payment in the coin, cash.
In the specie.
Bingo.
Ba-ching.
Which is no longer worth anything. And not only are you being signed up with a paper bonus, the paper money isn't there. Like it literally has not arrived.
How did we win our independence?
So we want you to sign up for this force, this professionalized Minuteman force. We don't have your bonus in hard money, and in fact, we don't have your bonus at all. So here's an IOU for your paper money.
We won our war of independence. And it's like when you say it out loud, it's like, whoa.
But we won. Good news.
But this, it's full of this.
It is. Like we're someone, was it you who said this? Maybe my husband said it. Just like building an airplane.
That was definitely your
while
husband.
While you're trying to fly it. And like it's not even it's
but
that,
that's
but it's
such
different
a great analogy
too.
though. That is literally
because like they didn't set out to do this necessarily. The founding fathers.
We fell out of a tree and built an airplane on the way down.
A little bit, but we still hit every branch on the way down.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So like,
are we out of the tree yet?
Failed successfully? Question mark. So on this court day in February, it just turns into a bunch of, it's a shit show. Yeah. Let's put it that way. And Nicholas Cresswell writes about it. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise.
And he just says, great confusion. No business is done at the court. And he also says like, oh yeah, and they're trying to sign up soldiers, but their paper money has not yet arrived from the mine, is his phrase about the paper money. So Nicholas Cresswell thinks this is hilarious.
Yeah.
And he actually has a good view of what's going on the courthouse green at the time too. So that's pretty great. A few days later, news has trickled down the Northern Neck, and Lund, Washington has another report about what had happened. I'm told some of the leading men in Loudon who were the first promoters of, we already did that one. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Next blurb. He hears more about what these official complaints are from the tenants, right? The tenants have coalesced around key points.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a class action. Lund thinks it's a mob, but it's really, they've thought about it.
It's like, we can't be mad about everything. We have to have some
pick our
things we're mad about.
What is it we want?
All right, what is
it we want?
What are the core things we're beefing about?
All right, here's what Lund reports. He says, he being, Cleveland and the rest of the protesters, tenants should pay no rents. That is a little bit rebellious, but like, we understand why.
I like it.
Tenants should pay no rents. Ding one. The pay of officers and soldiers should be the same. Bing. You want to be a democracy? Make me equal. You won't. Blah, blah, blah. And, side note, what would still be better, should they not be paid at all? Because there's no inducement for a poor man to fight, for he has nothing to defend. Let us go and fight the battle at once and not be shilly-shally until all the poor people are ruined. Which is like, I know it won't work, but I don't hate the logic. Yeah. Everyone grab a gun, we'll all go shoot the British at once, and then we come home.
I feel like the only part of that I even slightly disagree with is the officers and men make the same money. I'm like,
listen, fringe costs money.
Right.
They got epaulets. They got shiny buttons. That costs money.
I just wonder, and I only wondered that strictly from an acumen level. It's like, hey, average farmer, do you know how to conduct?
Do you know how to anything?
I can dirt.
I can dig a latrine. Actually, not even until George gets through with them.
He's like, here, get it away from where you drink your water from, you idiots.
Right.
No, and I'm not trying to bring my brain thought up as a defense of things. It's more just like, I track with this logic.
Right.
And then, but unfortunately, I'm 40 years old this year, and I'm jaded, and I'm old, and I've seen
too
how
much.
things should work versus how they do work.
You've seen too many onion scarecrows selling soup.
Correct. But so I don't really have a problem with these grievances. So to
it's
speak,
not.
right?
It's really, from the long list of grievances that are possible, it makes sense.
These are very practical.
The demand is don't expect us to pay rent
when we have nothing.
When we don't have
anything
to pay rent with.
Right, there's no market.
Pay us the equal amount, or don't pay us at all.
Yeah. Level it that way.
Get us here. Get us. And also let's stop inventing more rules and taxes and bullshit. Let's go fight the damn war.
That's the one I feel the most
Let's
strongly
go
I stand behind.
shoot the goddamn British, and then we're done.
Get rid of the roadblocks to success.
And that was a real fear for a lot of these smallholders, and I would assume it trickled up too. Is how long is this war going to be?
Right.
How long are we not going to have trade? The longer this war goes on, the ports are blocked. The blockade is up. We're not getting things in. To getting things out. We need this. We need an outlet.
Oh, buckle up, baby.
I know. And Lund goes on to say to George, I suppose the first battle we have in this part of the country will be in Loudon against General Cleveland, again, air quotes, for he has the distinction of being at the head of the party.
Hey, he's been promoted.
Ding, ding, ding. He's gone from middle management to general of a mob. And so this is the first time we see a name ascribed to the Tenant Revolt, right? We know that they're out there. We know it's a whole bunch of people, but this is the first time in late February of 1776 where we have one.
I mean, they're acknowledging their organization.
Bingo!
Yeah.
Right? As the head of the party. They have demands. They have at least de facto leader by Lund's sarcastic interpretation. And it's no other than their own James Cleveland. Right?
I'm sure they love that.
I know. They definitely.
They're like, so that guy's fired, right? And he's like, believe it or not, no, he's not fired.
Yeah, it's not great. It's interesting, though, while this is happening, in Loudon, it's the most specific. And Loudon, it's the most pointed, it's the most specific. Right. But like I said, there are renters denying rent all over the colony, right? It's a systemic issue.
A revolutionary era.
Yeah, and it's one that's actually going to be used by Francis Lightfoot Lee, to help scoot the cause of independence along. Not necessarily to help these people, but to control them. Right? Because if you're in open rebellion to the king, you can't exactly take these guys to the courthouse and say, you are disturbing the king's peace.
Right. What's the law here?
And who's enforcing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a little bit of a game of chicken, I think, of, we're breaking the rules, we're pushing the envelope, but we're also in open rebellion, so we don't have a good system in place of how to deal with you at the time.
See, the problem, though, is with a game of chicken like this, we're talking about people with money against people with no money.
Yep.
Right? So, unfortunately, that ends a specific way, like every time.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting too. What I love about this point in time, like late February, early March, is that this is all happening again at the same time as the Constitutional Convention where Francis Lightfoot Lee is, and he's writing to members of the Carter family, trying to get them on board with independence, and he hasn't heard about the shenanigans in Leesburg yet. His own tenant, right, is doing this. Meanwhile, Francis Lightfoot Lee says to Carter, the danger of anarchy and confusion, I think, is altogether chimerical. The good behavior of the Americans with no government at all proves them very capable of good government.
Meanwhile, your house is on fire.
Yes, it's literally your guy. Yeah. It's literally your tenant who is out here, right, leading.
He sends that letter off, and that courier walks past the one bringing him the news of all of this.
A little bit, because we don't have a copy of Carter's letter back to Lee, but we do have Lee's return from that, who then responds that, we've got to now have independence because this is what happens when you don't have independence.
Yeah, these guys don't have a market. Like what?
So like he has to kind of like yes and his way out of this situation of like we don't have a government. Look how well everyone is behaving. Actually, they're shitting the bed. And it's like, oh, but if we were independent, this wouldn't be wrong.
That's right, exactly.
And again, I think Lee has a point there too. Like we need independence so that we can have our own markets. We need independence so that we can hold these perpetrators to justice. You can use whichever land with whoever to land better with. And that's actually something that he uses with Carter later on is, these current, internal struggles at your place, hint, hint, oblique reference, could soon be remedied. Just let us independence.
Just let us have it.
Just let us have independence.
Just let us, have it.
Just give me a little bit.
Put it in the box.
Yeah, little Washington's bottom. Please. Please.
Little bottom.
It's little bottom. And so this happens. This happens in the springtime. Pre-spring, late winter, early spring, and actually during this time too. So the 3rd Virginia is there trying to raise up guys. Okay. They're trying to get people to sign. They are successful in getting at least a few people to sign up.
All right.
And they were supposed to go from Loudon to Alexandria. It's again slightly to help defend the Alexandria area, but then also just to kind of keep in the neighborhood. But the Committee of Safety realizes, oh, that's too close to home. These guys they just got to sign are tenant farmers, a good number of them.
Right.
And their officers even are sometimes tenant farmers too. So
these guys are going to go back to their farms.
Blackwells, Chiltons, these are folks who own or rent property from like Richard Henry Lee, right? The same guys that are making the rules that got them here in the first place. And so they don't want to put these soldiers in a scenario of, do I obey my landlord or do I stick with my neighbors and countrymen who are in protest of this general thing?
Do you know what just popped into my head?
What's that?
You remember when we were kids and you would just play like random card games with your friends?
Absolutely.
And your one friend who's dealing or whatever just makes up the rules like at the beginning of the game and then mid-game just changes the rules.
Yeah.
And then
yeah. No, this is wild.
I feel like that's kind of what's happening here is like the Lees and Melody, they're just like playing a game where like, actually this card can't take my card.
I actually still win.
You owe me tax.
Yes. A little bit.
It just kind of feels like that.
A little bit.
Also, but now we agree with you. We need independence because we are with you, but also pay your rent at the same time.
It's carrot and stick.
Right.
If you are with us, we get independence and you get your markets back.
Right.
But if you're not with us,
we're going to destroy you.
We'll kill you.
We'll destroy your face.
Yeah. Exactly. A little bit. So, and again, there is no reason to call into question these patriot soldiers' loyalty to the American cause.
Right.
That's not on the table. What's on the table is class loyalty.
Right. It's like their honor to their like when two men, they shake hands and say your word is your bond.
Right.
It's like that's what's on the line.
And again, this game of chicken in terms of will the Virginia Committee of Safety order this unit to hurt, kill, fire upon supportive patriot members of the public in Loudon to suppress this issue.
That's hard.
Right?
Right.
That's really, really hard. That's not a call anyone wants to make.
Right.
And fortunately, the stalemate holds. The stalemate holds. So the Virginia Committee of Safety moves the 3rd Virginia Regiment out of town, not even just to Alexandria, but down to Dumfries, further south.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, they're going to pull a company from Pittsylvania, so farther down, closer. Not into Leesburg. That's too close. It's too hot. But they're going to be pulled into the area just in case. And I think they're both waiting. Each side is waiting for the other to like draw arms in some way. But no one pokes that bear. Thank goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank goodness.
So the heat, that's probably the most heated that the Loudon Tenant Revolt ever gets is right then in February of 1776, right? With mass confusion. But the next month, March 76, court day is shut down again the same way. Except I think it's minus the 3rd Virginia they're trying to sign on soldiers, right? Okay. It's become public demonstration day when court business is attempted to being done. Nicholas Kressel writes that again, court day, no business done. All confusion. All too confusing. So now moving into the spring, May of 1776, we now have the 5th Virginia Convention, which is famously going to decide on whether or not Virginia will declare independence from Great Britain. A lot hangs on this decision.
Sure.
As part of this convention is also met with a petition signed by 73 farmers from Loudon County. They, again, we're talking, they're not just collective, they're demonstrating and they're petitioning their government, right? Yep. They could be an armed rabble by now, but they're not. They are participating in an American system as they understand it. And these 73 guys, it's so frustrating to read historically because in Lund's writing in the description, you feel the anger. You feel the injustice that they feel. We understand. When these 73 guys get together, they write down their petition, their complaint, their grievance, whatever you have it, and you really feel the watering down, right? And I don't know if it's because they met as a committee and drafted as a committee, so everything is, being watered down a little bit. But the other thing to consider is that these guys are, at least some of them, they're all putting their names on the document. At least some of them are showing up at the convention. And it is, again, literally their landlords. So one of these guys that we had talked about having a multi-generational lease was William Muirhead. And he had signed a lease for 3 lifetimes. His own lifetime, his wife's lifetime, so she'd have somewhere to live when he dies, and his 5th son's lifetime, right? So trying to guarantee throughout the long space of his family that they will have a place to live, that they will have a place to be. And who is his landlord but another Lee member, Philip Ludwell Lee, who is one of the lead presiding members of the 5th Virginia Convention.
There's only Lees in Northern Virginia.
Only Lees.
That's the only family.
Well, it's Lees all the way down. It's so stupid. It's fine.
That's right.
I know. I'll tell this story because my husband maybe won't listen to the episode, but we were talking about how many Lees there were, and he was like, "Yeah, there's Lighthouse Harry Lee." I was like, "No, that's not his name. It's not a lighthouse." But then we made a joke about like, hey, it could be. You just list all the
if
Lees.
You say it slip, and just say it confidently, slip. Somebody will not
We'll
catch
totally
that.
get it. Just insert noun, right?
Right.
Just stupid.
I was like,
onion soup Lee.
It's horse.
Lighthouse Harry.
Like it's horse,
correct.
Right? I was like, no,
correct.
But my brain just for a minute, I was like
it, Lighthouse Harry.
You said that with enough confidence that my own brain was like, wait,
but
did
it
you
is,
say
right?
house or horse?
Yeah.
You could do that.
You could do that. But it's a so this poor guy Muirhead, he and 3 of his sons actually signed this petition. But they have to take it up to the landlord. They're taking this petition to the same guy who made the rules to fuck them over.
Right.
And now they have to come cap in hand and say, please and thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Please don't. Please may I not have another. And so the petition really comes down to, it's more of a description rather than a demand, right? So they describe the situation in this petition as, they had a very flourishing, growing trade for grain and flour. Those articles are now useless on our hands is so notoriously known that it needs no further explanation. Your petitioners would further observe that in most of our late contracts, the landlords have bound the tenants to pay all land taxes that might happen. As these unhappy times was unforeseen, this adds to our embarrassments. So they're too much trying to adopt the language of the upper class, I think. This adds to my embarrassments that I can't pay these taxes. I can't pay they're not saying stop charging the taxes. They're saying, would you observe that the taxes are taxed? They came in soft. They did. They came in soft. And it's a list of observations, right? It's not a list of grievances. It really is. And their final clinch of you always end with an action statement of what do you want the reader to do? Quote, take our situation into consideration and grant us such relief as you in your wisdom shall judge proper.
This was so deflating live when you got to this point. I was like, what the...
This is it.
What is the point of all this?
This is it.
To just get to the finish line,
yes.
to get to the moment and be like...
Yes. This is when you can shoot your shot, right? This is your chance to get in the history books is this is f***ed.
Right.
You f***ed it.
Take your stand.
Right.
I'm almost sorry for being here, sir.
A little bit. It really does. It feels a little apologetic. And even, this is...
I feel like the mouse in the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
The sad, cold mouse.
Yes.
It's like
no cheeses for these Mises.
Yeah, but I feel like we're just like...
Yes.
we're sorry that we're aggrieved by the world you have set up for us.
Can I be sorry for being poor?
Yeah, I'm sorry that you created a world that my family's suffering in. My apologies to you.
And it is kind of disheartening and kind of frustrating to read too, because even so, this is transcribed in Revolutionary Virginia, which is a great resource about these procedures. And in the footnote, it even says they're not sure what date this petition was read because it was just kind of stuffed in the book, in the agenda book for the convention. Right? Like
it became so insignificant. They're like, I guess we forgot the file or whatever. Throw it in there.
Yeah.
It's
it
so
just
anticlimactic.
Just sucks. So then, and then the big takeaway, of course, is that on May 16th, the convention votes to declare independence. Right. And like, that's the big thing. Colonial Williamsburg did a big to-do about the declaration. And I know I sound sarcastic right now about it because I'm a little butthurt about the whys and the wherefores, and this idea that there's certainly a way that you can spin it that these founding Virginians did, which is we declare independence, we're going to win victory for our side, and we will solve these problems.
Right.
Parentheses that we created. But then there's the other side of it, which is we are independent. We're going to create a government, and you're f***ed if you break the law.
We're going to create problems for you on our own. We don't need a king anymore. We're going to do it ourselves.
A little bit. And this is in my mind evidenced further by, right? So we declare independence, and in 1776, in the October of that year, so a few months later, they meet again to create a new law to punish people who aren't paying their taxes.
Oh,
so they do nothing to fix the tax situation or the rent situation. They do nothing about it legislatively in May. We're just going to declare independence so we can start getting laws enforced. And I still believe that a lot of the landlords are probably being lenient about paying rents because they kind of get it. But we still have to get the war levies. We still have to find a way to pay us. They're milking that money out of somewhere. You know what I mean? And while the other 70-odd signatories kind of go back into the woodwork, and these are real people too, and some of them are definitely tenants, but a couple of them, like Nicholas Minor might be a name that some folks know. Nicholas Minor used to own all the land that is now Leesburg, Virginia, the town. It's like a real person. There are real people here, and a number of them... He
was a very influential person.
Yes, and about a half dozen of them actually fight or had already fought in support of the revolutionary cause, right? And we see them, in the pension papers. And one of them, in fact, he served in the earlier part of the war in the Light Dragoons and was shot like 5 times. These are real.
Are you even bought in though if you don't pay your taxes?
I know, but did you pay the taxes?
Did you pay your taxes? Seriously.
You're
like, put your shirt down. I get it. You were shot 5 times, but you didn't pay your tax. You didn't pay your tax. We're done here.
I don't need to see where you were shot in the groin.
It's the scene in Lethal Weapon where they just show each other.
Absolutely.
For no reason.
It is absolutely. So in October of 76, they published this. It's like, quote, an act to support the poor and collect taxes. Like they do one of those, like they bury it with something that sounds like it's good for society, but it's about punishing people. It's an act against vagrancy. And it's passed in October of 76. And it specifically has escalating features of, if you refuse to pay your tax, we're going to send you to the county jail. And if you still can't or refuse to pay your tax, you're going to go in the public jail in Williamsburg. And if you still can't or refuse to pay your tax from there, we're going to send you into like a work camp, like a work farm, a debtor's prison.
You see influxes of debtors imprisonments everywhere at this time.
Yes. And so this is like legalizing that pathway from willful withholding of paid levies, right? Is I think where this is coming. This is the gap that fills all the way down to debtor's prison. If you still won't or cannot pay your debts, then you will be bound to a ship. And you will be like conscripted into being
You're in the
ship.
Navy now, dude.
Right. Worst case scenario, you're in the Navy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That sucks.
It does, because you'd be a rower. Like, you're not having a good time.
No.
You're not having a good time anywhere. But it's interesting because the following summer, so that's a fast forward sound, into 1777, who is being brought in charged with this 1776 act of vagrancy but our own James Cleveland in Leesburg. So it's himself and 7 other guys, of whom only one is also a signatory on the petition, right? So James Cleveland signed the petition and is charged in 77, and William Muirhead, M-U-I-R,
Right.
Muirhead, is also charged, along with a few others as well. And they're charged with this act of vagrancy, which specifically also mentions, that whereas it has come to our attention that there are, acts of hostility in specific places throughout the Commonwealth in which someone is being jailed for not paying their levies, and then calls his friends to break him out, causing destruction of the jail. And so we're absorbing lots of costs to the jail and breaking the law.
Right.
Like, that's how this is written. Like, it's a very suspiciously specific.
Yeah.
That, like, someone's being put in jail and then having their friends busting them out, and they're breaking up our jails in the meantime.
It's like, I don't know anything about this.
I don't know anything about this.
This is news to me.
And I would love to hear in the comments of this if anyone has another example of, like, a friend of theirs breaking the rules in such a specific way they have to rewrite the rules, right? That, like,
Oh, yeah.
no, you cannot put a firecracker in a snake and then throw it off of the school roof, right? Like, I want to know.
Are you the reason that we have training?
Right, exactly.
Are you the reason that we have a training?
Exactly. So James Cleveland is brought before the court in Loudon, which is now in session and is now supporting and enforcing the rules of the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, right? So in the law book, in the court book, there is this long introduction of, is being accused of breaking law of the Commonwealth of the Virginia, the legal and blah 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 blah. All this language they can now use because they're dressed in the auspices, this legal mantle, because of independence, right? Which they did not have before. And so ultimately, again, it's a little bit of a wet fart ending where, like, James Cleveland, he has to, like, be in the county jail for a couple of days without being broken out and breaking up the prison. And he also has to pay a fine. Right. A fine, which ostensibly might equal his back pay of taxes. I'm not clear by the language. And then I don't want to say henchmen or cronies, his buds who were there, who, based on what I could find, it looks like they maybe lived close to Leesburg. That would be convenient to bust him out. And they were given kind of a nominal fine, and their jail sentences were waived. So it was really just a matter of we're getting it on the books. James Cleveland stood before the group and publicly apologized and said that he would be a very good boy.
Doesn't the rich just need to do that? They're like, we're going to screw this guy over and we're going to publicly embarrass him.
A little bit. And it's interesting too, because one of the men on the jury, right? This is maybe beneath some of the bigger landholders, but Levin Powell actually serves on the jury too. So again, an Army officer, someone who's well acquainted with the situation and had written about the leveling spirit, right? This, this class struggle. But he's on the jury that essentially lets them off with a slap on the wrist, right? And again, we can paint this happy, we can paint this sad, right?
I want to paint it sad because it's like, what did you do? What did you fight for?
Yeah.
Like, you should have just from the beginning written that letter.
I know.
Instead,
I know.
It looked like you had a spine for a little bit. It looked like you were going to fight for the people against the haves, right?
I know. No.
And then you just cowered.
Yeah. Well, they cower. And then also, I think it came to a point with some of these tenants, at least, that they had to decide where they're hedging their bets. And enough of them, I think, felt that they had a stake in becoming one of the haves, that it was worth backing off. And it seems like that's a gamble that paid off for James Cleveland, himself. So we know that in the next several years or so, he continues to do business with Mount Vernon. Like, he's not a farm manager anymore, but he's like selling a horse to George and stuff like that, and like participating in a normal way in the world, right? He's not like castigated for this. They're not thrown out of society. And we always knew that James Cleveland, it seems like he was able to retain his tenancies, and he also signs up to fight in 80, 81, somewhere when we're doing the Southern campaign. So it's kind of a. And it
goes from a lot of noise.
I know.
Happening out in the West.
I know.
To like, that was a waste of time.
What are we doing this?
Like, not.
What are we doing?
The story isn't a waste, but it's like the effort of the moment. It's like, what was the point of all that?
This isn't how the movie would go.
Right. The movie would have some scene. Jack Nicholson would yell at people. There'd be loud music. I'd feel bad about myself.
We would all have to consider the choices we make.
Right.
No.
But it's just like, it feels so And unprovoked anticlimactic. It's like, did somebody hold a gun to this guy's wife's head?
Right.
Like, the moment before he walks out to like deliver his statements, and like he looks off to the side and they're just like giving him the kill sign. It's like, what happened?
What happened? What do we and like the people who needed to learn a lesson, I don't know that they learned a lesson.
No, they did
because
not.
All of these same wealthy land speculators continue to speculate land.
Right.
And it's an interesting greater shift, greater movement that actually a lot of these landed gentry, they're slowly even phasing out mass purchase of enslaved labor, and they're moving to more tenancies.
Do you know how I know they didn't learn their lesson?
Tell me.
I live today. All right, the land is not the part of the conversation anymore because all the land's been grabbed up. But they've substituted land for like real estate, but not in the same. I know that those words live together, but you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
it's like think about how many people can never like own a home. They're going to be forever tenants and things like that. So that's how I know they didn't learn the lesson because 250 years later, we have exactly these same conditions and systems and I, as we said earlier, like I hope to whoever that as we go through our current moment of gigantic unrest and things, it's like I hope we don't get to our moment and go, please, sir, if it's good by you, can I have some cheese? Right,
exactly. And it's the idea of who are we willing to sell out for our shot of not getting sold out ourselves, right? And that seems to me one of the bigger takeaways of this particular occurrence. These 73 signatories, and it includes the Nicholas miners, and it includes the nobody that nobody's heard of, and since let's go ahead and end on a depressing note if we want to end on a sad note. One of these guys was a John Steele, and he had rented like 100 acres in eastern Loudon from actually a landlady, Emmett Thomas, I should say. And John Steele, he had a 20-year lease signed in like 1772. And here we have on July 16th, 1793, about 20 years later, a coroner's report that said John Steele did then and there willfully hanged himself with hickory bark, and that he was of sound sense and memory, and was possessed of one small horse and one cow and calf and heifer, and that he was not possessed of any lands or tenements.
And nothing.
No land and no tenancy.
Yeah.
Within a year after his 20-year lease is up.
Yeah. I mean, you built nothing.
Yeah. And so much of our history is those guys, whether it's a John Steele who hangs himself because he's poor, whether it's a farmer who starves from lack of salt somewhere, right, or malnutrition, or like whatever it might be. So much of our history is those guys whose lives and again, not to take focus away from the lives of the enslaved and other important parts of our society, but the idea that it's the nameless and recordless among us that created the world that we live in today, just as much as the guys who wrote the laws who governed that world. Right.
I think the thing forgotten throughout our entire national experience is, it's like you just said, it's the people obviously, but then Ellis Island has that plaque about all the tired and the hungry. They're also the builders.
Yes.
I loved this story, and I'm actually kind of glad. So initially, little inside baseball for the listeners. We were going to record this weeks back, and then because AnnMarie and her husband Mike have young ones, and my wife Danielle and I have young ones, we all go through the annual the plague hit.
Yep.
So we had to reschedule. And so here we are recording during the rescheduled date. But in between those dates, we got to do the live performance for Historians on Tap. And I got to hear this story sort of like test driven. And I was like,
the bar version.
I feel a lot more prepared for it because I kind of knew where we were going, which is kind of how I was. But you know what? Here we are at the end. And just the same, I'm like disappointed. And I'm like, man, like these guys could have and should have done more.
And I think that so I made sure to pull it up. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm sure it's a quote that most of y'all are familiar with, but it's Benjamin Rush.
Okay.
when he's talking about the revolution. And he says, quote, "The American War is over, but this is far from being the case with the American Revolution. On the contrary, nothing but the first act of the drama is closed." And that to me is like the takeaway.
Yeah.
Right? Is we are still in the American Revolution.
Yeah.
We are still building what
Today.
Yeah. What is meant by that. Right.
I drive with that big time.
So that's kind of how I feel about this story. This is not the end, of course, of class struggle in American history, but it is a very interesting opening salvo, I think.
I'm with that. So a couple things. Firstly, amazing story. Thank you so much for coming by the studio to tell that story for our listeners today. Second of all, since it was your first time coming by the War Department studios, let's get to know you.
Oh my!
You work in the field of public history. We work in the field of independent history. Both you and I do that.
Yeah.
Just who are you as a history person? What stories you like to tell? Tell us about Historians on Tap. Since we've had your cohorts on before.
Yeah, so that's a probably a good place to start because I know the podcast started like at the same time that Historians on Tap did.
Yeah, like
2019.
Yeah.
I know. Let's not. Let's not talk about that.
I think we're a little younger than you, but not by much.
But yeah, so I used to be more professionally associated with the public history field. I worked for a few years with Travis at the Virginia Piedmont Heritage Area. That was before Ian arrived on the scene, of course, but is a wonderful colleague and friend. And then I also worked at the Loudon Heritage Farm Museum as the executive director for a time. And so during my years with the Virginia Piedmont Heritage Area and Loudon Heritage Farm Museum and a stint that I had done earlier in my career at the National Sporting Library and Museum, which is in Middleburg, also a Loudon site, I became very acquainted with the Northern Piedmont, the history. And it's all the same guys. It's all the same families, right?
Yeah.
But there are stories.
I've been reading about these guys for 200 years.
I know. If I have to read a Lee or a Carter one more goddamn time. But there are stories buried in there, and that is something that I'm really intrigued by and excited by. So I think of myself as a historian of the Northern Virginia Piedmont.
Okay.
More than anything else. I'm not necessarily associated with a specific era or war, except that 18th and 19th centuries up in the Civil War. I'm from Fredericksburg.
There's
originally.
a lot going on in those areas.
I'm from Spotsylvania originally, so I grew up between 3 different battlefields, and I come by it very honestly.
Sure.
The history thing, but I'm also a military kid.
Okay.
So I'm not from here.
You're from everywhere.
I'm from my dad's from Rhode Island, my mom's from Idaho. And I grew up in Virginia, right? And so one thing that has always very much made me passionate about history is I get to choose that this history is mine too.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're interpreting history in Northern Virginia, you're encountering a lot of people who are not from Virginia. Right? Or who are not from America, or who, are
certainly in the
a generation in. And so the idea is, today too, if I'm talking to a visitor.
Oh,
if I'm talking to a visitor.
Today, for sure.
And, there are people in the history field, I'm sure you've encountered them, who think that this history is mine.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't have it because you're not from here.
Right.
You don't get it because you're not from here.
I work in Western Maryland.
And
I'm
I think,
intimate with this mentality.
And I think that's so sad, right?
Yeah.
And I think that really becomes really myopic view of everything, because a lot of the times it's the guys that think they know that don't.
Well, it stops being special if you keep it and don't share it.
Right. Well, and it stops. You're never going to preserve the landscape you want to preserve. You're never going to preserve the stories you want to preserve if you don't invite other people to be part of it.
Right.
Right. And so that kind of motivates me as a person, as a historian. I don't care if it's you came to a Historians on Tap and you laughed about Lund, Washington with me. That to me is a valuable experience, that you have seen a window into the past that resonated with you.
Sure.
I like that. And if I have a chance to tell you about the Tenant Revolt, if I have a chance to tell you about freedom seekers, right?
Yeah.
And how they participated in the world, and the same physical world that you live in, right? That's really what gets me going as a historian.
How'd you guys get to do Historians on Tap? Just you give us from your perspective how that came about.
Once upon a time in the pre-pandemic world, so it was me and Travis and Joe Rizzo, who I don't know if you,
he's not been on the show. Nope.
He's in Henrico now, but he used to be up in Loudon, with us doing the thing. And we just gave it a shot as a public program, really, lack of a better word. And this is a time, and things have changed a little bit. This is a time when brewery talks were still new-ish or newer, and we were able to build a brand that was not just a lecture that was in a brewery, right? That's what a lot of brewery talks are. It's a lecture and it's in a brewery, and you're hearing from the same dude that you hear from.
You're drinking, but the presentation is the same.
Exactly.
Right.
The presentation is the same. The slideshow is the same.
Right.
The polo shirt and the khaki pants with the belt are the same.
We don't even have slideshows.
I know.
Right.
We just have soup
We
commercials.
just hung out. Like that was, so that was my favorite part when I participated for the first time. I'm like, this is just storytelling.
It is. And I think what makes Historians on Tap special is that whoever we have on, because we have on all kinds of folks, like it's usually like me or Travis or Joe or some iteration of that. But then we bring in our friends, just like you bring in interviewees.
Right.
And you kind of try and toss them a softball of what's a story you can't tell on the tour? What is something that you're dying to talk about, but it's not in this finished product that is ready for the masses, or is not something that you know, be a little naughty.
Say
normally, the bad word.
Normally I'm like that, but Travis keeps giving me topics that are like not where I can tell my best story. So like, I need him.
Listen, don't listen to Travis.
I
Step
need
one.
him to
Step
let me tell the story of the Union Army in Nashville in 1863. That will be the best Historians on Tap I could ever do. So first there's that.
You got it.
Secondly, the most recent time I definitely just stumped for my work because I was like, it's a big year. We need to draw some eyes. We have this, and it was relevant to the topic, but I definitely was like, I tell the story every day.
Yeah. They're all, it's a fun way to do history, and like, we're probably in the same boat about this. Like, we don't make money from it.
No. Well, no,
like, we get free drinks from the bar, but like, we're here. We're
in public history for the lucrative contracts and all the perks.
Yeah.
You know, when we were at Collective Encore, we remember that brandy glass with all the M&Ms, specifically brown, filled to the brim.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're famous.
Yeah.
My daughters were there that night. She asked, she's like, "Are you guys famous?" And I was like,
"You said yes, right?"
I
said yes,
started
right,
to say no, and my wife jumped in. She was like, "Yes. Daddy and his friends are famous." And I was like,
that's the right answer.
Hell yeah, I guess we're famous.
That's the right answer. We're famous. Define
we're
fame.
Famous.
Define fame.
Right, exactly.
I dare you.
You got any social media you want to plug for yourself, for Historians on Tap, anything like that?
Yeah, Historians on Tap is on Instagram and Facebook. We do have more shows coming up throughout the summer. You will see us at Collective Encore again in
just a few short
August.
weeks.
July?
I was saying, I thought there was a July one.
Yeah, I know we're doing like, there's a true crime and then there's like a serial killers. I don't know how we're going to do, it's a double dip. You know,
I don't know how serial killer is not true crime.
Well, that's what I want to know too. How untrue is this? Although I do have my true crime, I'll tease my true crime story. Okay. And it is, so what the story is in Columbia, but it does again tie back to some of my history knowledge in Loudon County. Once upon a time, in the 1960s, there was a prize-winning Holstein cow named Elevation. Changed the game. Over 90%. You guys know what a Holstein is?
No.
That's a black and white spotted cow. Classic cow. Black and white spots is a Holstein.
Gateway Computers.
That's it.
There we go.
Over 90% of today's Holstein cattle relate to Elevation from his genetic code because...
See the Attila Hun of cows?
A little bit. He was on the forefront of artificial insemination.
What?
And his babies made the best milk.
Wow. And
the true crime part is that years after his death, there was a semen heist in Carroll County, Maryland.
Right where we're broadcasting from?
That's right.
We're at the epicenter of this story?
We are. You're familiar with the farm museum that's here.
Absolutely.
That's the barn where the semen was stolen from.
It was stolen from the Ag County's barn?
Yes.
What?
But to learn more and how this thrilling episode in history concludes, please join us for the true crime iteration.
I'm buying a ticket.
At the Collective Encore.
I'm going. I had a great time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I think our listeners are going to be talking about this one for quite some time. Fantastic story. Excellent storytelling skills by far.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks,
Pat. We look forward to having you back. Any story you want to tell, just let me know.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love to come back, whether the recording is on or not.
We'll do it. Catch us on our social media. Follow the History Things podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And look out, later this summer for some more stuff coming to you from the Michael Collins Pub. You've probably heard a little bit about that in our mid-year episode. So look forward to sharing some of that fun new and cool stuff with you. Otherwise, guys, it's hot. It's summer. We're in it now. It's always been good to hang out with you. AnnMarie, thanks so much for coming to the History of Things podcast.
Yes.
Thank you all for hanging out with us. As always, we will catch you all later. Slanawalia. Oh, my God.
So he rents this additional 1,200 acres from Francis Lightfoot Lee, starting in 1770, right?
Yep.
Along with that property comes the 40 enslaved people that have been working on that estate.
Right.
And I'm actually, I'm going to send you a list of those individuals if you want to drop it in the comments here, because I want to make sure that we give them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure that we, say their name.
Here you go.
I'm already. No, don't like that. I think I'm. No.
See, like, first of all, Sloop right there. Lots of Sloop. But, like, he's doing some dancing in the rain bit. And he's supposed to be a scarecrow, but he's clearly an onion.
Yeah, the paper mache head is freaking me out. No.
Here we go. Look, it's like, and then.
He's stirring, so delicious.
And, like, I don't like the way this guy interacts
It's threatening.
Well, wait till he interacts with the gutter.
He's terrorizing
like,
the chickens.
What's that? Wait, look. Look,
He's like, waterboarding himself?
He's like,
what does it mean?
He had his mouth open.
That's not where scarecrows go.
Right, here we go. Ready?
Delicious. No, that's nightmare fuel.
Did you hear the noise?
Sorry, you have to back up.
No, you got to hear the sloop noise.
Get the sloop.
There's no soup more satisfying. More soup. So good you go.
No. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I don't even know if they make Nor soup anymore.
I think
they do like the rice packets. I've seen like the little side packets.
The company exists.
Right.
I don't just.
I hope this put an end to their like soup empire, right? Like this is the
end. And all empires crumbled. That's what brought it down.
It's
done.
done.
My God. Gross.